we need this. Okay, okay. And I want to explain before discussion. I want to explain what is the INDEPTH. INDEPTH is Institute for Diplomacy, Peace, Economic, and before INDEPTH, maybe all of you, most of you know IPF, International Politic Forum. We consistently discuss about the global politics, about politic international, about the economy, and usually we invite ambassador, ex-ambassador, academy, professor, and many more from representation from NGO or INGO to discuss about the something. And also we had 5 years, 6 years, 6 years, 2020 until 2020 until right now, we constantly about webinar, and today we talk about World War III. You know, in the country like today, Afghanistan and Pakistan, there are a conflict.
Okay, maybe Mr. Sena have a bad signal, guys. So, we still waiting for him. Okay, maybe while we waiting for Mr. Sena to come back again, I want to have interactive session with you guys. So which con okay. Okay, Mr. Sena is here. Okay, Mr. Sena, the floor is yours again.
Hello? Yeah. Okay, you can listen to me, right? Okay. Uh, okay, maybe I have problem with the internet connection. Not long to. I want to say the the World War III is important, crucial. We want to prediction. There's a lot of conflict between China and America and Ukraine also, Russia also, and Venezuela and many more. Maybe just it for me. And first of all, I want to say thank you one more time for to all speaker and more participant. We almost reached 200 participant, and the participant not only from Indonesia but based on our forum there are from Pakistan, from Turkey, from Russia, and from Bangladesh, from Mali, and from another countries on the world. And thank you and good afternoon and enjoy the webinar.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sena, for your insightful and inspiring welcoming remarks. Okay, as today's session will move into the academic discussion, I will now transition into my role as moderator for this webinar. I am Fayza Arisanda from University of Indonesia and Staff Communication in INDEPTH. Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin the panel discussion. Okay, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Assad Ullah. Dr. Assad, can you
Oh
hear
yeah, I'm
me?
here.
Okay,
Okay.
how are you?
Yeah, good. I was not expecting to be the first one, but fine.
Okay, glad to hear that, sir. So it's honorable for us really to have you as a speaker today. So from the CV, he is a postdoctoral fellow in Middle Eastern politics, Shandong University, China. He is also a Ph.D. researcher and research assistant in Shandong University, China. Also, he is a lecturer in Oasis Academy, Bandai, Pakistan. Wow, so really, really inspiring. So Dr. Assad will share his perspective. The floor is yours for 15 minutes, Dr. Assad. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it visible, right, to everyone?
It's still black screen, sir. It's still loading. Okay, it's already...
Is it fine now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you all. Thank you, the organizer committee, and thank you, the speakers and those who are participating. It's an honor to be here today and talk about one of the most important topic, I assume it is. So there is no need to introduce myself because Fayza, she already did. But I just want to say one thing before I continue my presentation is that it is not a prediction of World War III. I mean, it is not an exercise of fear, and it is not a political argument about which country bears the blame. So my presentation is kind of an attempt grounded in international relation theories and contemporary strategic studies to identify the condition under which conflict become more or less probable. So the central questions I'm gonna argue in the throughout this PPT is what structural condition make a global war more or less likely? And that is the right questions which demand rigorous, calm, and analytical thinking. So I will proceed to the PPT. Now, let me begin with the frame that I believe is very important for everyone as we follow the PPT. So World War III should not be treated as a prediction. It is a risk variable and something that emerged from structural condition in the international system. I mean, it is not from destiny and not from any single event, you know. The moment is almost here, like. So right now we are living through a rare moment in which three major structural stressors are active simultaneously. And I'm afraid if we see these things are active in the future, probably we will have a war. So the first thing we have is a power transition. We all know that the power is transiting between Russia, China, and the United States. And the second one is the norm erosion. As one of the colleagues mentioned, that like we do not have norms anymore. We have seen how relentlessly the United States went to Venezuela and captured the Maduro without any warning or without any respect for sovereignty. And the third, which I'm afraid is very important, is the technological acceleration. I mean, this AI, hypersonic missiles, and autonomous system are compressing decision timeline. And the leaders have very few options to choose on or decide. So before we go further, we need to agree on what we actually mean by World War III. The question is, we are no more in 1914, we have witnessed World War II, or we are not in 1939, where we have seen the World War II. Most tellingly, we are in the 21st century. That's mean that like any direct confrontation among great powers could lead to, you know, conflict spanning on multiple geographic positions. And this is not going to be a war of, I mean, militarily, it's going to be a nuclear war, it's going to be a cyber war, it's going to be a space and economic domains, which is very important. So if I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Graham Ellison's one of his book I was reading, he said that, you know, like among 16 historical casing of rising power, 12 ended with war. 12 of them ended with war. So if we look at the power transition theory, they say that like war risk arises when a dissatisfied rising power challenge the status quo. That's mean that the United States is still the leading power, but then you have China, then you have Russia, then you have North Korea, and they are not satisfied with the United status quo. So what will happen? So the synthesis is that both arguments hold. Deterrence reduces but does not eliminate war risk at any threshold. The next I want to discuss about, as I mentioned before, that we are in a multipolar world order, but it is very important to know that we are not just in a stable multipolar world order. We are more likely in a fragmented multipolarity. So the difference between them are quite unique. I mean, a stable multipolarity is like you have a kind of sphere of influence which is recognized by everybody. Then you have a shared institutional framework, you have a consistent norms, and you have a kind of, like communication between great power, and they know how to communicate. And then you have the fragmented multipolarity, which we are witnessing now, is like you have the overlapping contest sphere of influence. There are competing powers, they don't have institutions, they don't have a channel for communications, and there is no way for them to communicate. So why does this matter for escalation risk? There are two reasons. The first reason is each great power can miss perception without shared framework. State interplay, adversary actions, like they are going to a lot of lenses. And the second is the coordination failure. Even when state want to de-escalate, they don't have a choice. They have to go on with that. And the third, this is, I think, very important for us because we are living in a multipolar world where we have three rising power. And let me now turn to these three actors, which is the United States, China, and Russia. So even now, of course, we have a lot of great powers, but the United States is like still, like the greatest power. And I call them the constrained hegemon, in which face a lot of constraint, nobody, no state witness in before the Cold War. And then you have China. China is, I call it a revisionist challenger. I mean, China can be understood as having a very nice behavior in the international order. But again, they have a red line and they have a core interest. And if you cross those interests, like let's say the Taiwan Strait, the South China Sea, and the BRI economic security driven, they have these red lines. Crossing this line means that you are obviously inviting China to have a war with them. And then you have Russia. Most importantly, I call them risk acceptant revisionist. In history have shown us that like all declining power, they are quite open and quite obvious to use nuclear weapons. And this is what we are witnessing now. Russia is a declining power now. So, I mean, any chance of deterrence or any chance of nuclear weapons, Russia do not have a choice, but they have to use it because they have to keep their reputation as a global power. So the bottom line is that constrained hegemon revisionist challenger and risk acceptant revisionist is doing analytical work within IR theory. And this is not a geopolitical commentary. I mean, they are very serious and we have to be worried about them. Anything between these three powers, maybe some kind of miscalculation can lead to a direct war, if not indirect. And then we have the flash point, which I assume can lead to the Third World War. But I want to make sure that flashpoint do not cause world war. They activate, alliance system. For example, after the assassination of Sarajevo in 1914, it did not cause the World War first, but it activate an alliance architecture that transform a local conflict into continental catastrophic within 6 weeks. And that is the mechanism we need to understand. The first flashpoint is the Ukraine in the Eastern Europe. So let it be clear here. I mean that none of the NATO country want to have a war with Russia. It is that a stray missiles and a misattributed covert operation or a shutdown could trigger Article 5, for the NATO, which could lead to a war. And then we have the deterrence risk, which is between China and the United States. The United States, since very long time, has maintained a strategic ambiguity about Taiwan for decades, and they are deliberately leaving unclear whether it would intervene if China acted or not. So this ambiguity was designed for both states. So now we know that, like, since the China military capability is growing and it's almost matching the United States, so that deterrence is become weak. Also, like countries like Japan, Australia, and the Philippines are entanglement vector. They have the security commitment that could draw them into the war. Then we have the Middle East, which is a very, hot topic. We are witnessing it every day, especially the war between Iran, Israel, and the status quo, which is challenging, the United States in the region. That is the most important point. So if anything happened, just like Iran clearly said that any attack on us again could lead to a regional war. So this regional war will not be limited to Israel, Iran, and the US. It will be like unlimited to go to Qatar. You have Iraq, you have Jordan, you have Syria, all of these, including Saudi Arabia. So these three flashpoints, they are active now. And this flashpoint probably could lead to a war between the states. Now, here, nuclear weapon present us, like with a genuine paradox. And I want to be analytically precise about it because, popular understanding tend to collapse a real-time distinctions. So, like we have this kind of weapon, we have strategic weapons, we have tactical weapons, and then they led to the escalation. So of course, like nobody want to use the strategic weapons. Nobody want them. But then you have a tactical weapons, and these weapons blur the line between conventional and nuclear war. They create use them or lose them. And this is what most of the country they are using it now. So if you use any of these nuclear weapon, which could lead to the three emerging domains on the right side of the slide, like you have a cyber operation, you have a space domains, and you have AI or artificial automations. So these are not hypothetical, these are active priorities for every major power in the world. Now let's go to almost the final stages of the PPT and structure risk assessment. And I want to be precise about what I'm doing on this slide and I'm not doing. And like, for example, this is my probability. I believe that since the seminar is about like the risk of having a third world war anytime soon. So I have three probability. The first one is the short-term probability. Probably in the next 1 to 3 years, my assessment is that deterrence hold. No great power currently has the political will, nor the military readiness or the strategic incentive to initiate direct great power conflict. Russia is overextended in Ukraine, China military modernization is still maturing, and the US alliance system is through stress remain coherent. And then I have the second assessment. It is from 4 to 10 years, the picture becomes considerably more concerning here. And this is the horizon that worries me most. Several structure trends are moving in a dangerous direction simultaneously. For example, China is not stopping its military capability. They are challenging the US and Asia Pacific region and the Middle East. And then the specific indicator I would watch at this point, analyze like from 2027 to 2030, is that China will definitely use its capability to make Taiwan an independent state because it's the part of China. And then we have the long term, 10 to 20 years, the trajectory is genuinely open. It depends on whether we can build governance architecture for AI and cyber whether multilateral institutions can be reformed to reflect contemporary power realities, and whether the pattern of norm erosion is reversed. So again, the core argument is that the real danger is miscalculation under systematic stress, not deliberate aggression. This aligns with World War I or World War II scholarship. So how to prevent any possible world war in the future? So I come up with 5 or 6 ideas which I believe that could lead to, like probably the reduction of any war, not just world war, but any war. The first thing in the urgent is like, we need a crisis communication channels. I mean, the rest of the countries, what they are supposed to do with the war. It is the United States, it is Russia, and probably China that drag the countries to the war. So we need a kind of, communication channel between them, not a hotline. Hotline doesn't matter. In Cuban crisis, there was a hotline between Russia and the United States, but it was useless. So we need a kind of, like a crisis communication, not just a hotline. We also need to work on armed control. We have to be like, to update the framework incorporating like China and covering hypersonic AI enabled in cyber nuclear system, not just ICBM, which doesn't matter. And then the third mechanism is a regional conflict insulation, building structure to prevent local flashpoint from activating great power alliance and component. And the fourth is the norm development for cyber and AI. The fifth is institutional adaptation. I mean, to reform institution bodies so they can function during great power crises. And the last one is, like the accurate adversary perception. For this, we need perhaps the most cost-effective of all is this one, is moving accurate adversary perception through intelligence. Probably here we may need track 2 diplomacy or some academic exchange, some diplomatic exchange that's going to help us. So let me close with the 5 propositions that the evidence support, and then I will leave you with a final thought. So World War III, I mean, is neither inevitable nor unthinkable. So the first proposition is that fragmented multipolarity. We are not in bipolar world, we are not in unipolar world, but it's more like, fragmented multipolarity. So for this, we are navigating a system without the institutional architecture that historically made multipolarity manageable. The second is miscalculation, and this is very important. I mean, the danger is a system under stress that produces catastrophic outcomes without any actor having deliberately chosen them. I mean, most of the great power on those who have nuclear weapons, most of the time they miscalculate each other. If a country like Pakistan come up with the missiles, India misinterpret them. They're against us. The third is a nuclear deterrence. Of course, nuclear deterrence reduce the chance of a conflict, but it does not eliminate the risk of great power war. The stability floor is real. The fourth is emerging technological domain, which are outpacing governance structure. There is currently no international framework governing autonomous weapons. You have this AI, and you have those satellite which can help in cyber operation. The fifth and the last one is prevention require institutional investment before, not after a crisis. So World War III is neither inevitable nor unthinkable. It is probably a kind of function of strategic restraint, institutional adaptation, and accurate perception of adversaries. So, the greatest danger is not in adversary who want war. It is a system under stress that produce war without anyone have chosen it. So I'm gonna finish my presentation, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Assad, for the comprehensive and thought-provoking presentation. It's really insightful for us. So, for the conclusion that the World War III should not be treated as a prediction, but as a structural risk within the international system. The key question is not whether war will occur, But which condition make large-scale conflict more or less likely? Okay, thank you, Mr. Assad, once again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much. I'm trying to stop the screen sharing, but I don't know how to do that.
Okay, it's already answered screen.
Is it fine now, or I'm still sharing the screen?
I'm sorry, sir.
I mean, my screen is still there, or it's not?
It's not. It's already
Okay.
not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, now we will move into the second speaker. Our second speaker is Dr. Teuku Rezasyah. How are you, Dr. Teuku Rezasyah?
Very well, thank you. Greetings from Bandung.
Okay, it's a good weather in Bandung or not?
Well, bright and shiny as well. Thank you.
Okay, it's really honorable for us to have you as a speaker today. So, from the CV, Dr. Teuku Rezasyah is an executive director from Global Insight Forum, and he is also postdoctoral study the University of Delaware, USA, and also lecturer in Pajajaran University, Indonesia. Okay, Dr. Rezasyah, we are eager to hear your insight. The floor is yours for 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good day. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon us. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Global Insight Forum. My name is Teuku Rezasyah, the Executive Director of the institution. Firstly, I would like to thank Mr. Aprilian Cena for the excellent remarks and Ms. Fayza Arisanda for moderating our event today. Global Insight Forum is one of many research groups in Indonesia dealing with international relations research, policy making, and media relations, connecting state and private universities inside Indonesia in cooperation with state and non-state actors, foreign embassies, NGOs, and multinational corporations also inside and outside Indonesia. Today, the last day of February 2026 is very important for Global Insight Forum, as we are now cooperating with International Politics Forum and also Institute for Diplomacy, Economic, Peace, and Thought. On this very important occasion, please allow me to invite IPF and INDEPTH for our future cooperation and collaboration, inshallah. Today is also very important for me as Indonesian scholar to firstly meet our fellow speakers today. Dr. Ibrahim Kone from Mali and Dr. Assad Ullah from Shandong University in China. Good day, fellow teachers. Greetings from Bandung, the capital city of Asia and Africa. I'm looking forward to link my campuses, Pajajaran State University in Bandung and the President University in Bekasi region with your respected institutions. Dear audiences, our topic today is very topical, relevant, and has become a global attention, namely World War III, global power, prediction, and risk. In relation to this topic and relying on the guideline given by the committee, please allow me to deliver my short presentation in the following sections. Firstly, global power transformation and systematic rivalry. Secondly, strategic drivers of a potential global conflict. Thirdly, lessons from historical world wars and Cold War stability. Fourthly, the role of Asia and the Middle East in escalation scenarios. Fifthly, implications for global peace architecture and risk mitigation. The first part of my presentation is global power transformation and systemic rivalry. To begin with, please allow me to share with you my concern on what is happening in the world today, seen from my city of Bandung in Indonesia. We are at the moment witnessing a very critical development in the Middle East, where President Donald Trump of the United States of America has ordered 2 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers to come closer to the Gulf areas. These aircraft carriers, along with their naval and air force arsenals, are targeting Iran, a country of 94 million population, which is also known as one of the cradle of civilization, along with India, China, and the Greco-Judeo-Roman. Earlier on, President Donald Trump has successfully captured President Maduro from his home in Venezuela and brought him and his wife to the court in the USA. During this time, The USA has also targeted Greenland, known for its endowment of rare earth, and also targeting Canada, its immediate neighbor, to one day becoming one of the states inside the USA. The above issues, Venezuela, Iran, and Greenland, have affected internal tensions inside NATO and the European Union, where most countries who formerly saw the US as their security protector and source of inspiration for development and globalization are now questioning the US global roles, which are not only confusing, but also threatening. No wonder, unilaterally, some countries are now approaching Russia and China, their former competitors since 1945 until the last year, for closer economic and political cooperation. My immediate question is, why has the United States of America, which has proclaimed itself as the world's champion of democracy, conducted such offensive policies? As foreign policy begins at home, it is not difficult for me to understand that Pax Americana, which has dominated the world since the end of the Cold War, has now reached a position of moribund, while at the same time, the world is witnessing the peaceful rise of the People's Republic of China to play a more prominent role in the world today. Indicators taken into considerations are Belt and Road Initiative and China's global diplomacy in various parts of the world at the same time. With regard to the American plan to attack Iran, I think the US has found itself hampered by the reluctance of countries in the Gulf and the European Union to supporting its war plan. These countries found the necessity to refrain themselves due to Iran's greater capacity to defend itself and attacking back to Israel and the US military bases, as well as the US armada in the region. In the process, as the US economy is weakening, seen in the country's global debt, healthcare, and housing issues, Donald Trump's idea of make America great again has become more of loud voice and make the US as the source of global instability. The above development, I think, represent an important global power transformation, whereas the increasing development inside ASEAN, MICTA, BRICS, G20, and Shanghai Cooperation Organization have begun to shift the global political, economic, and military relations from bipolarism to multipolarism. As the United Nations international role is also weakening due to its incapacities to settle the Russian-Ukraine dispute, and also the Israel-Palestine issue, along with UN incapacities to reform due to the undemocratic UNSC and financial shortages due to the US reluctance to pay its financial obligation, our world today is witnessing the rise of China, India, Russia, and EU countries to reshape the ongoing global political, economic, and security order. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me now to embark to the second section of my presentation entitled Strategic Drivers of a Potential Global Conflict. Witnessing the ongoing US-Iran dispute with the possibility of Israel initiating a first strike, supported with the American carpet bombings inside Iran, responded by Iran immediate ballistic missiles targeting US and Israeli strategic positions, there are possibilities that this regional conflict will lead the world to a global war. As the US and Israel have diplomatic coalitions and global alignments, they will work strongly to gain further global supports and instigate unfinished disputes leading to greater wars in other parts of the world and linked to the ongoing US-Iran crisis. Accordingly, the world has for long witnessing huge conflicts such as Russia-Ukraine conflict, China-Taiwan dispute, conflict in the Korean Peninsula, border disputes involving China and India, as well as the most recent one, the Pakistan and Afghanistan border tension. At the same time, resource competition for rare earth in the South China Sea may also attract new kind of tension involving Quad and AUKUS. As President Donald Trump rejects to be considered as incapable of settling the dispute with Iran and also supporting its allies to deal with the ongoing strategic circumstances, there are possibilities that the US and Israel may conduct limited nuclear strike directed to remote areas inside Iran. Once nuclear is used to settle one dispute, I can imagine how other countries will behave. As the United Nations role is weakening, with the United States unilateralism tend to divide the world into pro-US and critical towards the US following the end of the Second World War, please excuse me. Repeat, as the United Nations role is weakening, with the United States unilateralism tends to divide the world into pros the US and critical towards the US, along with the erosion of international norms in various parts of the world, plus the possibilities of accidental detonations and military installations. These are excellent conditions for a global conflict to happen in our lifetime. In this case, preconditions for a third world war are on the table. Please allow me now to reach the third part of my presentation entitled Lessons from Historical World Wars and Cold War Stability. In fact, the past world wars have produced unfinished issues affecting millions of world population. Among others, long-term physical and psychological trauma, economic ruin and long inflation, as well as sufferings and human rights violations, not to mention starvation, diseases, and human sufferings. No wonder the preamble of the United Nations Charter mentioned the idea of global peace in a philosophical way, to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, reaffirm human rights and dignity, ensure equal rights for all nations, maintain international law, and promote social progress. It outlines a commitment to peaceful coexistence, tolerance, and the use of collective. I think the time is right for the world to think on the greater need to empower the UN, which was established in 1945 following the end of the Second World War. The ongoing Board of Peace initiated by the United States of America in 2025 and the incorporation of about 25 countries in this BOP have created a challenge to the sanctity of the United Nations. Learning from the elected 10 countries which play a great role in the United Nations Security Council, this could inspire international experts to think conceptually on the need to reform the United Nations, especially the United Nations Security Councils, which has been indirectly controlled by one superpower country using its veto right. If we witness composition of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, we will find that the US, Russia, France, and UK represent one civilization only, known as Judeo-Christian Roman, while People's Republic of China represents its own civilization to be known as Mandarin. Witnessing the great numbers of Muslims and Hindus in the world, and they individually have more than 1 billion followers, there are needs to select countries coming from the above-mentioned category. At the same time, we can also question the absence of countries under the Asian, African, and Latin American category, which have produced significant best ideas in the United Nations General Assembly. Also, we can also invite countries to be part of the next UNSC, coming from they who have contributed to world peace through consistent development and peacekeeping operations. I think once we empower United Nations Security Council with 10 new members, we can expect to witness a more balanced decision-making process. To begin with, the veto value of the new members may start from half of the original members for the first 5 years. By doing this, the status quo will remain as usual. But when it comes to the second 5 year, with all 15 member countries having equal veto rights, it would be interesting to witness the introduction of qualified resolution once it reached support from at least 12 out of the 15 countries inside the United Nations Security Council. Please allow me now to come to the fourth issue, namely the role of Asia and the Middle East in escalation scenarios. In my opinion, it is essential for countries in this group to stick on the best ideas coming from the Bandung spirits introduced in the Asia-Africa Conference conducted in Bandung in 1955. They are namely, number one, respect for fundamental human rights and the UN Charter. Number two, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations. Three, recognition of the equality of all races and nations, large and small. Four, non-interference in the international affairs of other countries. Five, respect for the right to self-defense individually or collectively per the United Nations Charter. Six, abstention from using collective defense arrangements for the special interests of big powers and no pressure on other countries. Seven, refraining from acts of threats of aggression or the use of force. Eight, peaceful settlement of international disputes through negotiation and arbitration. 9, promotion of mutual interest and cooperation. 10, respect for justice and international obligations. Please allow me to embark now to the last part of my presentation, namely implication for global peace architecture and risk mitigation. In my opinion, conflict is part of human interaction, whether on a personal or international level. However, how we address and resolve these conflicts can make a significant difference in creating lasting peace for the world. Ideas leading to global peace architecture will not emanate within a short time, but it may happen as long as countries prepare to work with full idealism, even though one or two countries are not supporting the idea. Firstly, in my opinion, countries work strongly to reform the UN and permanently incorporate the best E10 to become permanent UNSC members. Secondly, thinking seriously to implement the Bandung Spirit. Thirdly, thinking seriously to fulfill all requirements under the 17 Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. Main focus should be directed towards the most immediate challenges, such as improving health and education, reduce inequality and spur economic growth, tackling climate change, and working to preserve our oceans and forests. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rezasyah, for global and insightful perspective. It's really insightful for us. So now we move to the next speakers. Our third distinguished speaker is Dr. Ibrahim Kone. Are you here, Dr. Ibrahim?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
What? I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's clear for your
Okay.
voice. Okay. So from the CV, he is a Ph.D. International Relations in Jilin University, China. Also, he is a lecturer in University of Bamako, Mali. So, Dr. Ibrahim, we look forward to your perspective. Please, the floor is yours for 15 minutes.
Okay. Let me try to share my screen.
Okay, it's already...
Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, as she said, I'm Kone Ibrahim, and today I'm gonna try to share my perspective on World War III. So, as described in the TOR, so the presentation gonna be divided into 5 parts. So, first of all, I'm gonna talk about the global power transformation and systemic rivalry. So, first of all, we have to understand that here we are talking about hegemony. And when we talk about hegemony, it's like a superpower in the world who has the role to regulate everything and monitoring goods, providing public goods, and create institutions for the goods of everyone, but by maintaining its supremacy. So I encourage you to read War and Change in World Politics by Robert Gelfin. So in that book, it said that stability is achieved through a hierarchy of power. So in the world, there will be only one superpower who has to manage, the goods, but also the distribution of power. So we have also to understand the shift from unipolarity to multipolarity. This is something very big and something that makes, the superpower, I'm talking here about the US, very upset about the change in the international system. So here, when we talk about multipolarity, it's like in every single region, there will be some superpower who will try, to not only maintain order in that region, but also try to balance, if necessary, to maintain a sustainable order. So the third part is like the rise of China as potential challenger to the US hegemony. So as we can see now, economically, militarily, as well as technology, when we talk about technology also, China is really rising, and they are trying right now, to challenge, the US in all those forms. And those are some triggers, that we can observe right now, at the system level. So when we talk about strategic drivers of a potential global conflict, we have to remember the nature of states. Every single state seeks power. Liberal, they argue about that, realists as well. So most of the time, domestic needs and the influence of systemic level prevail, for the good functioning of the system to avoid any conflicts. So, but when domestic needs like nationalism and militarism prevail, something that's really stuck more, for sure, they will have the ambition, to go to war in the aim to satisfy the domestic needs. But also the influence of the systemic level is important. When we talk about the systemic level here, we are talking about the balance of power. So the failure of the balance of power or the rigidity, the non-flexibility of the balance of power can be a trigger, a strategic driver toward a global conflict. So today, also, the adaptation problem of the modern statecraft. Here we can talk about terrorism, globalization, religious or ideological matters. And we also can talk about multiplication of new sovereign states. Those are some major problems that still modern states or modern statecrafts tend to deal with. Terrorism that, I did my PhD on that, and I can say like right now in West Africa, this is something really a big issue here. That's why even, we do have many coup d'etat right now in Africa. In the Middle East as well, there is a big problem due to terrorism. So those are some big issues that modern statecrafts tend to deal with. And those are, strategic drivers of a potential global conflict. So when we talk about lessons from historical world wars and Cold War stability, we can say that during the World War I, from regional to global war, I mean, what we understood from the lesson that we can learn from the World War I is like a regional conflicts led, to a major war, a world war. Because of the men, as they said, and men here is like militaries, the rigidity of alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. So the lesson that we can learn from the World War II is that the unfair Treaty of Versailles in 1919 and the failure of the collective security, but also the Great Depression in 1929 and the ideological conflicts. So it's even those ideological conflicts that lead to the Cold War. And the Cold War as an international system, the Cold War had two purposes. The expansion and avoid the World War III, expansion of liberal democracy and try to contain the communist regime of the Soviet Union. So the role of Asia in Middle East in escalation scenarios. So we have to pay attention to two issues in Asia, but also in the Middle East. So the most important for me is the Taiwan issue as well as the South China Sea. Because those issues, they touch the so-called sovereignty of China. And even when we talk about, for instance, the soft balancing by TV poll, during the US supremacy, even though the balance of power had disappeared, but at least within the institution, UN, they could delay by, forming a group of coalition, to delay the US intervention somehow. But because that was possible because the sovereignty of states were not attached, they were not in front line. But here, when we talk about Taiwan or South China Sea, we directly see how China reacts. And this is something very, very sensitive, but also Japan's rearmament in the East Asia, Iran and Israel confrontation, but also external power rivalry in the Middle East. I'm talking here about the US, Russia, and China rivalry in the Middle East. So those are some big issues that can lead very easily to an escalation, toward a global war. So the implication for global peace, architecture, and risk mitigation. So the failure of the so-called self-balancing, as I said, is it going to be a big issue here? Because the shifting of the system from the US supremacy to a multipolar world, is it going to be a big issue? The decline of the multipolarity as well, the UN and the ASEAN, because ASEAN plans still, to solve some issues in East Asia. Here I'm talking about the Myanmar issue, for instance. And whereas, actually we are in the multipolar world. So if regional organizations are not able, to solve regional problems, that's going to be a big issue and can lead, to a global war, right? So I pointed out, the role that regional organizations must play, to decrease the tension. So permanent economic warfare, as we know, right now, there is economic warfare between China and the US. The US has even increased, the taxes from imported goods from China. So more than 147%, I think, 147%. So if nothing is doing right now, so it might be something very complicated because we are living in a globalized world, and economic warfare between those two, I would like to call superpower, might lead, to a more complicated conflict that could lead, to another world war. So that will be all for my presentation today. Thank you very much.
Okay, wow, so interesting presentation. And yes, thank you, Dr. Kone, for your global and insightful perspective. So now we move to the Q&A session, guys. Participants may raise your hand virtually or submit your question in the chat box. Okay, let's begin for the first who raised hand. Sir Hidayatul Taufik. Are you going to ask a question, sir? So,
Baik, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. My name is Hidayatul Taufik. I'm a public servant based Sumatra, Indonesia, currently serving in the provincial government. I have a strong interest in governance, social resilience, and the intersection between religion and community development. It is an honor to participate in this important discussion. The first question for Mr. Assad. In many discussions about the potential World War III, the focus is often on major power such as the United States, China, and Russia. However, history shows that large-scale wars also reshape the political, economic, and moral landscape of the developing region, including the Muslim world and global South. My question, sir, if World War III were to become a reality, how do you foresee the restructuring of global power affecting emerging nation, particularly in terms of sovereignty, economic dependency, and strategic alignment? Would smaller states have greater agency in multiple order, or would they become more vulnerable to proxy conflict? My For Mr. Bang Reza, I know you are from Aceh, Bang Reza. Unlike the previous world wars, its global conflict would likely be driven not only by military confrontation, but also by cyber warfare, artificial intelligence, information manipulation, and economic sanction. The battlefield may extend far beyond physical territory into digital and physiological space. My question, in your assessment, Bang, what role will emerging technologies and hybrid warfare play in shaping the nature of World War III? And how can civil societies strengthen resilience against disinformation, cyber disruption, and economic weaponization in such a scenario? Thank you.
okay, thank you, Sir Hidayatul, for the question. So, as addressed to our distinguished speakers, I will respectfully to invite Dr. Assad and Dr. Reza to share your perspective.
Okay, so I'm going to go first to it, but I have to revise your question if I'm not wrong. You are trying to say that among the great power competition, and how can the small power or the small state contribute to the world war? Am I right? Okay, I can't hear you, but I can see you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're right. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're absolutely right. I mean that like great power are not in the intention to go to any war directly. But like as I mentioned in my PPT, there is alliance. As I gave an example of World War First, that war didn't start it like, okay, the great power say, okay, we're gonna go to the war. Absolutely not. How the war started, after they killed the president, and then those European countries, they want to have an alliance. And that alliance, they say, okay, who killed the guy? We have to find them. And within 6 weeks, the World War first started. So I agree with you that great power, they, of course, like they are not the initiator of the war, but the problem is an alliance, you have to protect your ally. Like let's say, for example, in the Europe, we have small countries, they do not have any nuclear weapons. But as a European Union, they have an alliance. So any country, if attacked inside the Europe, that's going to lead to the war. So I can say that small country is the initiator, but these are the big countries who take control of the war. Hidayatullah, did I answer you sufficiently or you need more explanation?
Sir, thank you for your information.
And thank you for the question.
Okay, maybe next, Dr. Reza.
Thank you very much. Abang Hidayatul Taufik, thank you very much for your question. Well, it is very relevant, yeah, Pak Taufik, because about 15 minutes ago, we may lead to nuclear war or third world war because Israel has just struck Iran, even though they call it preemptive strike. I think we are the witness. By the time we are talking about a third world war, the third world war itself is happening. Okay, you are right when you mentioned that cyber attack may affect devastation and it may lead to third world war. Yes, cyber attack can be operated by state and also non-state actors. It targets installations, civil installations, and then military installations, offices, bankings, and infrastructures. So in this case, you are right, it will link to the Third World War. And what can the civil society do? Well, learning from the experiences. Country with nuclear war, with nuclear facilities or nuclear capacity, nuclear war capacity is safer at the moment. Because if we witness, for example, Ukraine, during the Cold War, it had a nuclear, well, they call it nuclear for peaceful purposes, but at the same time, it can work dually, working for military purposes. But since Ukraine has no more nuclear, Ukraine was attacked. Same story with Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. They were attacked because they do not have nuclear weapon. But what happened now with Iran? Iran has no nuclear weapon, so Iran is being attacked. So in this case, I could understand as long as one country adhere totally to International Atomic Energy Agency and adhere to the Non-Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, it is okay for that country to go nuclear. I think for a country like Indonesia, we have had enough support if we refer to the agreement called the Lombok Treaty and also agreement with under the banner of Comprehensive Strategic Partnership with China. There are possibilities for Indonesia to go nuclear. But we need to be very careful to operate nuclear in line with the IAEA and Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. I think by doing this, as civil society, we could encourage our government to embark to the nuclear level, and it is for peaceful purposes only. I think it will save the economy a lot. Thank you very much, Bapak Hidayatul Taufik. I'm aware that my opinion may be not in line with the opinion of the most participant today, but learning from what is happening today, I think a nuclear country is safer than the non-nuclear country. Thank you.
Yes, Bang Reza, thank you for information. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir Hidayatul, for the question and for all the speakers for the really insightful discussion. Now we move to the next questions. So we have Indonesia Ambassador to Qatar today, Sir Abdul Wahid Maktub. How are you today, sir? I'm sorry, it's still mute, sir.
Okay. Okay, I cannot mute myself, so yeah, I need your assistance. Okay, actually very interesting for the three speakers, inspiring us to to make a good preparation and anticipation and avoiding how the third world war can be. And we are as human fully aware about the danger if the third war using modern and advanced massive destructions weapon, so which lead to the mutual assured destruction. So there is no victory for all sides, for both sides. So I'm thinking about how to prevent this. I am interested in what is done by Japanese thinkers and giving offer solution to the world, especially by giving new awareness about the humanity. With the disruptive technology right now, it makes two serious race, a positive impact and negative impact of the disruptive technology or modern technology. Yeah, and as already explained and elaborated by the three speakers, why not we think about the other option of giving some encouragement, moral encouragement for the leaders about the danger of the weapons today, which lead to mutual destruction. No side will appear as winners. All are losers. So, but I agree with Mr. The first speakers about the danger of misconception and miscalculation in the future. The miscalculation, especially if it is initiated or done by non-state actor like terrorists, something like that. If we also link with the Mr. Teuku Reza analysis here. So this is a very, very interesting topics. How we can do together to especially appealing to the all leaders, especially the superpowers like Americans. It seems when the other countries cannot control, persuade the attitude and behavior of the leaders, it seems the domestic power it seems more effective here right now. For example, the American institution began to revoke the policy taken by Trump, for example, and also the demonstration by the domestic intellectual and society in the American society. So it's much more practical. So even though we have more and more dangers, but we have more and more option and more creative in avoiding and anticipating the possibility of the occurrence of the Third World War. What do you think about that? Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. As it addressed to all three of our distinguished speakers, I will respectfully invite each of you to share your perspective. Perhaps we might begin with Dr. Kone, followed by Dr. Assad, and then Dr. Reza. Thank you.
Yeah. What was the question again? He's mute. I think he needs to be mute. Yeah, can you
Yeah,
unmute
okay. I
him?
cannot mute myself, unmute myself. So very sorry, because it is already restricted by the host, yeah, and controlled by the host. So I'm sorry if I'm late to answer. Yeah. So my question is, how we convince the countries who initiate the possibility for the war about the danger that this war can be a mutual destruction for all. So there is no winners. What happened? What is the reality is all are losers, because with the advanced technology right now, maybe it will damage everybody, everything. See. You know that what happened in Japan, for example, in atomic bomb, yeah, in 1945. It is very simple atomic bomb, not advanced, yeah, which has a limited reaching impact. But right now, if we use nuclear bombs, maybe it can damage the world, the earth many times in one's explosion. So how can rationality taken by the leaders here to take war option? So what I'm concerned is, if this war is initiated by non-state actor, like terrorism, as mentioned by the speakers previously. Yeah. So this is how. So I come to the new effort there, like done by the group of thinkers in Japan, with new concept of the Society 5.0 in response to the danger of the fourth industrial revolution, which bring not only not only a positive impact, but also negative impact. So that's why we must anticipate the negative impact of misusing and calculation, yeah, not only by the state actor, but also non-state actor. It is very dangerous, because in the era of disruptive technology now, it is give equal opportunity for the state actor or non-state actor to do the same. Yeah. So this is very dangerous. Or become, yes, what's doomsday in the future if we don't develop new philosophy, new cultures of peace, yeah, with the modern technology at this moment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. This is a really interesting question, and I do admit there is a big risk, that a world war might be initiated by a non-state actor, and that's why even the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, they do have a kind of institution, and I have had the chance, to be an intern, in the UN system, and I saw a lot of things, and they do have programs, to how to say that to avoid at any cost, those non-state actors, to be able, to have those nuclear weapons. Because when it comes to nuclear weapon, there are so many things, that have to be puzzled, in the end, to have this massive destruction, bomb. And one of my professor, Alex Dubin, have done also a good article on this issue. It's about those states, for example, North Korea, what might be the link between North Korea and terrorist organization when it comes to money, sometimes predatory states, they can engage with all sorts of organizations, to get gain of cause. So the risk of non-state actors, to have those nuclear weapons, exists, but at the institutional level, and I'm talking about the UN, and they are really working very hard, to avoid, those issues. And a scenario that there might be, mutual destruction, when it comes, to a third world war, because, actually we have many countries who do have nuclear weapons, but when it comes to neorealists, those people, they think, every single state should have a nuclear weapon. So it will be respected, in the in the international system, because this is anarchy. However, I'm liberal, and I believe in the role of law, the role of institutions, the role of regional institutions, regional organizations, and the role also of civilian societies. And I don't think many civilians and many organizations, as well as associations, they are trying very hard, to deal with those potential issues. And I believe in human being, I believe in human being, and I think the rationality, the reason of human being will prevail, over, those weapons of massive destruction. So this is my answer, and I don't think this is a very good concern. You're right. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna comment on. Thank you for asking very interesting question. I mean, it's the right question to ask in such a seminar, and I'm gonna answer in 3 ways. First, you mentioned that like, how are we gonna stop any country by going to the war? So like state can be convinced not to start a major war by reminding them that, as you mentioned rightly, that the previous world war, it was like you just drop the bomb and everything is done. And now we have today advanced technology and nuclear weapons, which make it like a larger scale conflict, which quite be impossible to win by any country. And I also want to stress here that, like, before World War II, there were no nuclear state. And today we have 9 nuclear countries. It's including United States, Russia, China, France, UK, India, Pakistan, North Korea, plus Israel. So the increase from 0 to 9 nuclear power has made great power war far more dangerous than even before. And the third that you said, like, what will happen if the non-actor state caused the war or led to the war? I believe that is going to be even greater risky, because this group, cannot be deterred by a nuclear retaliation or economic destruction. Their actions can provoke state into escalation they did not intend, which is why, like in crisis management and intelligence sharing and restraint are essential to stopping a local incident from spiraling into the global war.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I really hope that this forum can give some more on the obsoleteness of because you know that with the disruption era, everything become a new reality now. So new challenge, new opportunity, and also giving a new response. So what I hope that what kind of new response, like maybe already done by the group of thinkers, Japanese thinkers, by offering the world about the importance of creating society 5.0, which go back to the humanity, the important emphasizing of the value of humanity, which at the global level. So hopefully by doing this, all people in the world feel that now it is timely to love, to develop brotherhood, and to to create peace than the conflict, because with the disruptive technology, everything will be mutual damage, mutual destruction, and mutual loss. I think that's. Thank you very much.
Maybe the next we can hear from Dr. Reza.
Thank you, Fayza. Thank you also, Your Excellency Bapak Abdul Wahid Maktub. We meet only in this kind of program, Bapak. Thank you very much for the question, ya Pak. Ya. I think the answer is it depends on who are our partners. Ya. For partners, for countries who consider themselves a democracy, we can talk. We can talk, and we could use different kind of mechanism, such as diplomatic mechanisms, reminding them on the need to settle differences peacefully, or also to discuss on the needs to adhere to the non-nuclear proliferation treaty, or to provide sanctions, or to remind them on the sanctity of the UN. For countries who are logical, okay, they will understand. When we talk at the economic level, political level, they will understand. But what happened if the countries call themselves democracy on paper, but provoking to use nuclear to settle differences? This is another story. So in this case, we may think of sanctioning that country, and then at the same time, we convince that actually no country is threatening you to use nuclear weapons. You are the problem to the world. You are not producing solutions, but you are causing trouble, and this kind of trouble affecting countries all over the world. So can we organize ourselves to sanction this kind of country? It is very difficult, especially if we deal with a country like Israel. Israel for long said that they don't have nuclear weapon, but if we refer to year 1985, there was a scholar called Mordechai Vanunu talk in one journal in Europe saying that Israel has the nuclear facilities in Negev area. So in this case, do we have guts to talk? Do we have guts to pressure? If the answer is no, so what we could do is to reconstruct the United Nations. Reconstruct the United Nations by eliminating countries who are considered as against the UN principle. By doing this, at the same time, we need to strengthen the United Nations Security Council, and we need to be strict. Countries need to be unified. So to be unified, to isolate one specific country on earth who are against the world norms, or against the world's ideas for peace and security. But in this case, we need also to organize countries to prevent all kind of activities. No trade, no investment, no tourism. Can we do that? Well, based on theory, the US can do that against a country like Iran, but also against a country like Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Do we have such a power like the US? So this is the problem. So in my opinion, countries under the non-aligned movement, countries under the South-South cooperation need to unite. Because by doing this, we could become a powerful, powerful united associations. So in this case, yeah, it's also depend on who will become the leader. The problem is of NAM, non-aligned movement, the problem of Islamic Organization Conference, the problem of the Arab League. We do not have a charismatic leader who could become the source of inspiration. So this is the main problem. So let us in this world try to find a new leader, a national leader which receive global recognition, and this leader should be expected to be charismatic and also ideological, bureaucratic, pragmatic, and accepted by most countries all over the world. Let's find one. It is very difficult, but anyway, before this happen, I think countries need to position themselves, to unite themselves. That we are peace-loving nations. If there are countries who are trying to become the first user of nuclear weapon, isolate them. Can we do that? Can we do it? Let's do it together. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Bapak Abdul Wahid Maktub.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maktub, for the questions and for all the speaker for the interesting discussions. So the audience may also get new perspective too, I hope. And now we move to the next question. It's maybe from Sir Tasiu. You can unmute and ask your question.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Hear your voice.
Good afternoon. I really appreciate for this important event. So my question is about currently there is ongoing war or conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan, Russia and Ukraine, then Israel and Iran. Currently, 20 minutes back, I think Israel launched an attack on Iran. So my question is, I want to know the negative impact of World War III about small countries, especially like in African countries or Southeast Asian countries. So what is the negative impact of World War III? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Perhaps we may begin with Dr. Reza and then Dr. Assad, and then the last is Dr. Kone.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum, Bapak Muhammad Tasyu Jarmai. Thank you, sir.
Waalaikumsalam, Bapak.
When nuclear war happened, it was very difficult to run away. The debris runs faster than expected, especially with the changing weather, with the speed of the wind, and then with the speed of, also with the limited capacity of the sun to prevent this. Well, I think even though some countries are small, but this country will also be affected, considering the fact there is a term called nuclear winter. In this nuclear winter, the spiral of debris will run faster than expected. So what can we do? I do not know the answer. In the past, we talked about bunker. How long can people survive in a bunker? And at the same time, I think we need to be ready to prepare for the worst, to utilize the limited amount of food security. We need to think on food security. In this case, we could learn from the Korean. They have been utilizing kimchi, and they keep that kimchi, it lasts long. And then what else can we do? Well, even though we cannot run away from the debris, but what we could do is to claim that we are a peace-loving nation. We are not involving ourselves into such conflict, and we are a non-aligned movement country, and we do not want to be involved or to be attracted or to be persuaded to support or not to support conflicting parties. So in this case, the best way is to develop national resilience. Yeah? National resilience at the ideological level, political level, economic level, socio-cultural level, and to defend the country fully with specific kind of defense system which can prevent the third parties to intervene. Because when it comes to a nuclear war or a situation close to a nuclear war, countries need support. In this case, yeah, they may expect one neutral country to produce statement. To produce statement also to cause accidental strike. So this is something we need to prevent. So in this case, for small country, my advice is be non-aligned. Convince yourself that you can think on your society and you have strategy to survive within long months. I do not anticipate long years. And then in this case, convince others that you will never be part of the scheme aimed to make you part of the doer, part of the competitor, part of the perpetrators, and then refer to the United Nations. For example, countries in Southeast Asia, we have Southeast Asia Nuclear Weapon Free Zone. And then in South Pacific, we also have something called the Treaty of Rarotonga. And then countries in South America, we have a Treaty of Tlatelolco. I think countries in these parts of regions, I think should talk more, should remind to the world that combination of Southeast Asia plus South Pacific plus South America, it means a lot. We could become the moral voice. And again, in this case, there is a need to revise the UN Charter because oftenly some countries are utilizing their veto to prevent best ideas from the United Nations General Assembly to become draft to the United Nations Security Council. So thank you very much, Bapak Muhammad Tasyu Jarmai.
Sure.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Bapak.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, dear Muhammad Taisu, nice to see you.
Hello, Bapak. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, first of all, I'm sure that, rest assured, there is not going to be World War III, knowing that after the destruction of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the world witnessed. And the problem is most of our colleagues mentioned that this is going to be the last war, because I mean that there are 9 nuclear powers. So if anything happens, if there is a nuclear war, small state will be almost diminished. I mean, the small state, referring you to Africa and Asia and some other countries, they're struggling with the daily life. I mean, they don't have enough food to eat. So the first thing, there's going to be famine. There will be shortage of food, maybe water, as in rightly or Rezasyah mentioned that, like the climate change, that disaster, the economy is gone, the environment is gone, the humanitarian crisis, and even the political system that we have is absolutely gone. So first of all, as far as I'm concerned, I hope that there is not going to be any third world war, but in case it happens, you can call it the end of the world, because 9 nuclear weapons, you can imagine what's going to happen.
Okay, maybe the last from Mr. Kone.
Mohammed, how are you doing?
Waalaikumsalam. Alhamdulillah. I'm from Nigeria.
Yeah, I'm from Mali.
Oh, yeah, Mali. MashaAllah. Yeah, some location.
All right. Mohammed, you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I'm here, Bapak.
We shouldn't even think of a third world war, because it's gonna be a real big issue for for us, let's say like that. As Dr. Assad said, we are already dealing with climate change. We are dealing with many type of things, food insecurity, blah, 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 many things. So it's gonna be something else. And most countries in the global south will suffer from, this nuclear war if it really happens, because we are not even prepared for that. We do not have bunkers, as Dr. Teuku said. There is no bunkers, there is nothing, and we're still struggling, to live our daily life. So I even do not want to imagine that a third world war is going to happen. Let's just hope for the best that the institution we already have will be sufficient, or we're gonna try to strengthen them, as possible in the end, to avoid, a potential nuclear war. That would be my answer.
Oh, yeah, I really appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for all the speakers and for Sir Tasiu for the interesting discussions. So we'll take one final question before we move to the next session because we have our limit time. For Wesley, you may unmute your mic.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
So first of all, let me introduce myself. I am Weasley. I'm from Pembangunan Jaya Junior High School, and I would like to ask a question, which is, can the United Nations salvage its position as a body that can maintain its goal to maintain peace around the world and prevent another world war? Because the pattern we're seeing right now is that it's similar to the League of Nations, where at the start of its foundation, it was solid, and then by the end of its lifetime, countries started to defy more, and the League of Nations disbanded. And that pattern is also happening in the United Nations. So I'm just asking, can the United Nations salvage its position and prevent a World War III? That is all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Perhaps we may begin with Dr. Assad, followed by Dr. Kone, and then the last for Dr. Reza.
Okay, so this is one of the most interesting questions I was waiting for, and thank you for asking. I will tell you one thing. The legitimacy of the United Nations has absolutely eroded after the Palestinian war. So many resolutions were passed by many countries, starting from Africa to Asian to European. But they cannot be independent. They still depends on those countries who made them after the World War II. Who made this UN? The Western countries, just to protect their own kind of agendas. Talking about human rights, we're going to protect human rights. The world is fair. We have to respect each other's. But when it's come to respect, where is the UN? I mean, they solve any problem. They stick to Iran, no nuclear weapons. And the rest of the countries, they have the right to make nuclear weapons. So by any chance, if there is going to be a third world war or any potential war, the UN is paralyzed. UN cannot intervene to stop anywhere. I will give you one quick example before I go. Look at the Iran. How many times the UN passed a resolution that there should be no war, there should be no war? How many times the US passed a resolution that the UN that there should be humanitarian aid to Gaza? But who is listening to them? Might is right. Those have the right, those who are in might, They can do whatever they want. And the rest of the countries, they're just looking at them and do nothing. So my answer is absolutely no. Maybe the rest of the speakers might argue, but I will say absolutely not. They do not have the capacity, even if they want. They are weak, they are paralyzed, and they have nothing to do. Thank you, Wesley.
Thank you.
Okay, maybe next from Dr. Kone.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Weasley. Very interesting question, and I really like it. I'm gonna have a different perspective from this question, and I believe the UN has the capacity and the ability, to avoid a World War III, because the UN has been created to avoid another World War. And I forgot the name of that scholar. He said the role of the UN is not to bring us heaven, but to lead us in such a way, to avoid the pattern of hell. Do you understand? So it means proxy wars might happen for sure, but the main purpose will stay the same. It's to avoid, a global war. And that's something, I can even say, since the end of the Cold War, realists cannot explain that much, like what is really happening right now. Because the role of institutions took another dimension, and I do not say that, there is or there will not be, some proxy wars like, Israel, Iran, but something I don't know about. Everything will be taken into account, to avoid, an eventual escalation of those conflicts, So I hope, and I do believe in institutions, and I think we will not see another world war. I think so. That would be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe last we will hear from Dr. Reza.
Thank you. Wesley, you are making yourself a peacemaker. Great. You are the Assad of Indonesia. You really represent the Indonesian, what we call it, Z generation. I wish to see more Wesley in this world, especially in this Indonesia. I think I wish to see more people like Wesley among the Indonesian demographic bonuses. Yeah, we are talking about quantity, but we forget that we need quality. Someone like our Wesley today. Wesley, the answer is we need to empower the United Nations. We need to reform the United Nations Security Councils, because we tend to produce best ideas in the United Nations General Assembly, but once it goes to the United Nations Security Councils, it's blocked by one country who is at the moment active in attacking Iran. So in this case, Iran is attacked by Israel, but behind Israel provided Israel with a green light. So what could we do? Well, I think Indonesia belongs to various institutions. Yeah, ASEAN. Okay, we try to involve ASEAN. Then we try to involve Organization of Islamic Conference. We try to involve the non-aligned movement. We try to involve Arab League. For what? For restructuring this UN. Because this UN has been there since 1945. Can you imagine? The UN is very old now. And nowadays we are witnessing the fact that the UN did nothing prior the attack of Israel. No. The best message I know is the Iranian foreign minister, the Iranian ambassador to the UN, wrote a letter to the UN Secretary General saying that if Iran is being attacked, these are the following answers. So in this case, we need to work strongly, majority of countries in the General Assembly, to draft a new structure of the United Nations Security Council. In this case, we need to think 5 countries, the permanent members are not enough. In this case, the veto right of one country will block the others easily. And country in this United Nations Security Council will use their right indiscriminately. So what I have in mind is we have been practicing E10, meaning elected 10 countries coming from different regions and sub-regions. There have been selected by their fellow neighboring countries. So based on these E10 principles, we need to select, for example, 15 new qualified countries to become the permanent members of the UN. Based on what? Based on civilization. Because the current civilization represent only the Mandarin civilization, proved by the Chinese, and then Judeo-Christian Roman, adopted by the American, Russian, the UK, and the French. We wish to see Hindu civilization. We wish to see Islamic civilization. We wish to see candidates coming from non-aligned countries. We need to see candidates coming from Asia, Africa, and Latin American countries. We need to see countries who promote peace through peacekeeping operation. We need to see countries representing the best practices of sustainable development goals. So we need to select the 10 and promote in the UNGA, yeah, and then push for special session in the Security Council. This is emergency. Some countries like the US and Israel is promoting a nuclear war. We do not know what Iran is going to do. So in this case, I wish to see more Indonesians, more Wesley generation who can think positively for the world. Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your answer.
Okay, thank you, Wesley, for the question and all the speakers for interesting discussion. So unfortunately, due to time limitation, we must now conclude the Q&A session. We truly appreciate your enthusiasm and thoughtful questions. Now, as we approach the end of today's discussion, I would like to kindly invite each of our distinguished speakers to deliver a brief closing statement, maybe from Dr. Assad first, and then Dr. Reza, and then Dr. Kone.
Can you say it again? I didn't got your question.
I'm sorry, sir, what?
Repeat, what did you say again?
I would like to kindly invite each of our distinguished speakers to deliver a brief closing statement.
Okay. So I will say thank you so much for the opportunity to share my thoughts on such a big forum. I was not expecting a lot of people, but I was happy to see that they were crossing 300 people. So it means a lot. And also heard a lot of thoughts from Professor Rezasyah, if I'm correctly pronouncing your name. Ibrahim Kone, thank you so much. We are in China, so we will have a chance to meet anytime soon. But I hope to be in such forum in the future again. And thank you, Fayza, for reaching out and such a wonderful discussion. And thank you all the participants. I am so sorry. I was very eager to answer a lot of questions, but due to the time limit, I hope that you guys can keep it for the next session. Thank you very much. And happy Ramadan as well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Assad. Maybe next from Dr. Reza.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be part of the program today. Thank you very much, INDEPTH. Thank you very much, IPF. And then I'm honored to know in person Dr. Ibrahim Kone and also Dr. Assad Ullah. Inshallah, we could work together. My final statement is restructure the UN. The UN is too old. The UN needs to be more democratized. Let's Indonesia garner supports from our like-minded countries, our friends, the like-minded countries, and utilize our international position in the General Assembly. Thank you very much.
Oh, well. Thank you all. And I'm very glad. It was such a pleasure for me to be here, share my thoughts, and I learned a lot also from all of you. Thank you, Teuku. It was really insightful. Yeah, I really learned a lot from you. And Assad, I learned also a lot from you. And I hope we will meet somehow, in China one day. And voila, it was a real pleasure for me. And then, as Teuku said, we have to reformulate the UN, and it already started, I think. And now voices have to be heard, and they started to hear voices, and I think the change won't take long, and we will have a better framework, within the UN, to be able to challenge today's problem, let's say, in the world. So thank you all for the real pleasure, and do not hesitate to reach out, for any opportunities, researches, whatever. I will be available. Thank you.
Okay, I also really want to say thank you for all the speakers for so much for the interesting discussions. So the audience may also get new perspective too, I hope. So as we come to the end of today's discussion, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to our distinguished speaker for their invaluable insights and thoughtful contribution. We certainly hope that today's discussion has encouraged critical thinking, deep reflection, and a sense of responsibility of global citizenship. Thank you once again for your participation. Now, I invite everyone to turn on their camera for our virtual photo session. Please smile and give your the best pose. Okay, maybe from the slide 1. 1, 2, 3. And the next slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Once again, thank you for joining the International Politics Forum webinar 2026. Have a wonderful day, stay safe, and see you at our next event. Good afternoon.
Terima kasih Pak Tengku Reza, terima kasih. Thanks so
Terima
much
kasih,
Ibrahim
Bapak.
Kone,
Terima kasih.
Mr. Assad, thanks so much, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Abdul Wahid Maktub, terima kasih Bapak. Insya Allah jumpa di kampus Bapak. Amin.
Ya, insya Allah, insya Allah.